Hello, I'm Kaisa, and I took user experience this semester on Rise. So our final project was to basically be US consultants for Google Travel, and our main goal was to create a website that'll allow users to easily explore and enjoy various travel experiences using Google Travel. So I chose Google Travel because I personally am not familiar with Google Travel. I've personally used other Google Travel sites, but I wanted to see the comparisons. So to achieve this, we needed to provide professional advice and innovative solutions to enhance the existing user experience on the Google Travel website. So as a US consultant, our first task was to create a UX design audit and a heuristic review of the Google Travel website, and we needed to identify potential usability problems, navigate the user interface, and highlight areas that can be improved to enhance user satisfaction. So, in the first part of my heuristic evaluation, I didn't think the Google Travel website lacked visibility or systems in the real world or user control and freedom, because it did provide that. But as I go along, there is certain recommendations I have made to improve this website. So things like the standard and consistency and error prevention, I didn't see any faults or errors. Recognizing and remembering the recall, flexibility, and efficiency. Um, One thing I did see that lacked user-friendly experience was the minimalistic design that Google Travel unfortunately had. So the first part of our project served that as the foundation, and it was basically the heuristic audit. This is my audit. I'll also provide a link below. And the second part was the research plan and asking the research questions that many people may have, or that I found that may be efficient to ask. So then we had to create a research plan and interview questions because of this US audit and the heuristic review. So after the research that I've done, I've concluded that some interview questions to ask would be: tell me about your experience using Google Travel, if you do at all. What do you like? What do you dislike about it? I've asked them to walk me through the process of booking a trip on Google Travel, if they did at all, whether they faced any challenges, or how often do they travel, and how often do they use Google Travel when they travel. Specific features and functionalities that they might have found most useful that they didn't find in other websites, or just recounting any difficulties they might have had or confusions that they might have had on the website that took away from their user experience. Some new improvements that they would like to see. As I went along in my interviews for part two, part one I did make those interview questions. Part two, I asked them and created user personas and user journeys. So in part two, when I conducted my interviews using the first set of questions, the learning, I think it was most productive for me to do the interviews because it taught me more about other people's experiences. Personally, I don't use Google Travel as much at all. I use websites like Priceline and Expedia to handle all my traveling needs. So it allowed me to ask around and see who else uses Google Travel and if they have any difficulties or something they really like on Google Travel. So the context and the steps was just to conduct interviews and create a user persona, develop a user journey, and write a report. So based on the interview questions I had conducted, which was tell me about your user experience. What do you like and dislike about it? How often do you use Google Travels? Like I said previously, I found that not a lot of people use Google Travel as much because they have other prices. One thing that I found that Google Travel lacked, was having deals and prices, whereas their competitors have better deals and prices going on, and they have more less expensive flights and conduct flights. Like, let's say Expedia has what time of the day and what day of the week the prices will be cheaper, whereas Google Travel doesn't have any of that, and it keeps it very minimalistic and very simplistic. So a lot of people had issues that it is too simplistic. So my user experiences, my interviewers were two people who kind of said the same thing. My first interviewer did not travel much, but when she did not use Google Travel, but she did look at the website and she also thought it was simplistic, whereas my second interviewee does travel much and she doesn't like the simplistic things of Google Travel. So the final part of my project was to make recommendations and create the wireframes for the redesign. So my recommendations were my recommendations was very simplistic. So the recommendations was just to create a better aesthetic for Google Travel. So the Google Travel website is very minimalistic. So it's better to have that user connection where they come to your website and feel as though it looks pleasing. So my recommendations was just that. And then my wireframe is not the color. The color is kind of, it doesn't deflect, but I don't think Google Travel would serve much with this color. But basically you have your things right here. I'll also provide a link for this whole thing below. But you have the drop down box. So the drop down box includes your home button. It includes things to do if you don't know what to do when you're traveling. It includes your tracking flights. Every flight has a tracking number. So you just put in that number, and then once you hit that button, you put in your number, and then it could track your flight. Or if you're on a flight, then it could also track your flight too. Booking hotels. If you don't know what hotel you're gonna stay in, it provides hotels that are near your destination. And then one big thing that I needed to stand out in my wireframes is the deals of the day. This was my most important recommendation, to incorporate deals so more people could use the Google Travel website, because a lot of people know things like Expedia and Priceline for having good prices, but not a lot of people talk about that with Google Travel. So then you have a selection of like different destinations that you might want to travel to if people are just looking through our websites. They have a selection which goes back and forth with the arrows. Just popular destinations and destinations that Google Travel might think they would want to go on based on their searches. So then a lot of people do also have a place in mind that they want to go to when they travel. So then it'll just be, where do you want to go? With a question mark, and you just type in the destination. So then you have your previous searches right here, so you don't have to keep going back and forth figuring out where was that you just seen, then you lost it. Just previous searches right here. And suggestions. One thing I did learn about in this class was to keep the help sign at the bottom but still visible, but you don't want it to be taking up too much space. So the help is right here if anybody needs it. And then on a Google Travel website where you're traveling around the world, I thought it could be useful to have a map just showing you where you are at the time of your search. So then it just points to where you are. If you have your location settings turned on, it just shows you where you are. And then, yeah, so the explanation of the assignment was just to be a UX consultant and figure out research about the Google Travel website and create my recommendations. This is what I've made throughout the final process. And I've learned that user experience is actually very important. Not a lot of people really think much into how they use the app or why do they use the app, but I think this assignment and this class just really allowed me to not have it in the subconscious of my mind that all the apps that we're constantly on and using, they have user experience behind it, and that's what makes us attracted to it. Thank you.